That is not what we are looking at. We can imagine that delicacy. We can imagine that beauty. You can imagine so much that happens within our waters or inside our waters every time you go to the ocean, every time you visit the beaches, every time you visit the rivers and all that. You genuinely do not want to let go of that just like that. And the irony of it all is that we all know the problems that, would be causing this. But guess what? We are the very same people who are triggering these problems. Why don't we get to that point where we're having a conversation and a shift for that matter? Why don't we listen to each other? Why don't we maintain what it is that numerous governments have been able to implement in the essence of saying, let's stop plastic use, especially use of plastic bags. Why don't we get to that point, religiously, with so much discipline, and see how best we can take care of the environment so that it could take care of us tomorrow. We are having this conversation alongside a specialist on matters environment. I would call him a lead expert on matters environment, and also the CEO of EcoSave Africa in the name of Daniel Wanjoki, who's well conversant with these matters. And probably we trigger this conversation based on an article that he's written on the Standard newspaper this morning. I don't know whether we'd be able to project that, but I have it on hard copy. Let environmentalist killers not go scot-free. This reminds us of what we've been treated to in the recent past. There's just a week or thereabout, and the demise of Joanna, which is quite unfortunate. It's been quite a sad one, and we've seen environmentalists across going out there, to condemn this. It shouldn't be done by environmentalists alone. It should be about us, because these people are keen to make sure that the environment is protected for you and me. Good to have you this morning.
Thank you.
All right, we pick it up from this article, Water, Hygiene and Sanitation. Let environmentalist killers not go scot-free.
Thank you. It's unfortunate that a defender of the environment who only actually doesn't do it for himself or herself had to lose her life in an attempt to protect a small piece of wetland, which may look small, but that's where some animals have called home for millions and millions of years. And unlike me and you could take a bus from Kiambu and go to Ngong Hills, some animals cannot do that. They cannot move from that wetland, and so they have no other recourse for action. If you want to clear the swamp, you actually eliminate all those animals. And the swamps are very important in that they filter water as it goes down river, and they tend to take away some minerals or nutrients that are necessary for the plants to grow there. And in the process, clean up the river. If we are getting water from Kiambu or Murang'a, and that we want to clear the swamps, it means that we are actually removing the filters, and we want to take the water raw as it comes from the environment. Nature has put in place such systems to filter out water. And they come very close to the statement by our president that Aquatic Dam is actually likely not to be useful for any economic use. But the reason is we want to capture water downstream, but upstream we are actually polluting it. We have lost that nexus, the connection between nature and our economy. Because if you want to use water in Aquatic Dam, you must ensure that all the way from Ngong Hills, all the way from Sasumua Dam, the water is protected. And that's when you can actually ensure life for yourself and life for the animals or plants that are abound in the.
And I think I started by saying it's quite unfortunate that, and sad for that matter, that people actually would not even think twice before throwing trash into the water. We do not sit down to think of the permanent damages that this could do. I started by saying that research has it that by 2050, plastic will outnumber the number of fish. What I don't understand is why then we put up so much effort to reverse these processes, yet we still can declare confidently that in 2050, the number of plastic, commodities that will be in our rivers, will be in our water areas, will be way more than the fish. Why then put up the fight?
It's because as humans, we have actually been doing the talk, not doing the work. we talk a lot, like Kenya, we banned plastic about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But have you noticed that your bread is still packaged in plastic?
That's true.
Your
burger.
Your burgers are still in plastic.
Your trash bag.
Your trash bag. Even when you go to the airport, everybody has to be told, can you declare your plastics?
Yes.
Because
it's now being...
Kenya may be safe from excessive plastic use, but our neighbors are not. Other countries in Europe are still doing plastic because it's business for them.
Yeah.
They make money from selling plastics. And so they don't want to eliminate plastics per se.
Right.
We actually just talk about it in big conferences, but in actual practice, there's a lot of plastic being manufactured. Mm-hmm. Your 500 ml bottle of water is still manufactured. Right. This is something you use for less than 5 minutes, and then the plastic actually persists for 500 years. Oh. When this plastic ends up in the ocean, there's nothing, no chemical burns it, nothing breaks it down, and so it remains there, causing a lot of havoc to marine life. But what have we done as humanity, not as Kenyans? Kenyans, we've done a lot in trying to ban the plastic bag. But our neighbors, the rest of the world, is not very serious about the plastic, elimination of plastic, especially the thin plastic that we use for one single-use plastic.
5 years ago.
Yeah. Now, coming to that, we are talking about this plastic that goes into the rivers, goes into the water bodies, stays there for the longest of time. I mean, also in all these efforts, I'd want to assume that the cleaning processes then should be there. Why, again, are these cleaning processes not as effective? So that we can say, all right, we have our very own oceans, the Indian Ocean, we have our very own, speak of the Lake Victoria and the rivers that we have around. And therefore, if we're talking about cleaning Nairobi River, then 100% we can be rest assured that the cleaning process will bear fruits.
Thank you. The truth is, when you say cleaning, many people think about going to the river and pulling out plastics.
Okay.
Yes, there's a lot of plastic in the river. In the riverbed, some stuff that have been there for 20, 30 years. But don't be worried about that plastic sitting in the river.
Okay.
Be worried more of the plastic that moves down the river, rolling as it goes, and getting scraped off, pieces of weight getting scraped off from the plastic as it moves down the river.
Okay.
This is the plastic that's creating what we are calling microplastics. Actually, the plastics that are most dangerous in the ocean are the small particles, smaller than a bit of sugar.
Than a bottle. A bottle is all right?
They must be very, very small. This is stuff you actually have on your makeup. Okay. The microplastics, they are so small that actually they are able to enter into your body system and actually interfere with your kidney function. It happens that from Nairobi all the way to Mombasa or Marindi, where we actually harvest our salt, plastic coming from Nairobi actually ends up in that area.
All the way.
In microscopic levels. It is in your toothpaste. In the past, you could hear toothpaste being elevated with micro beads of plastics to help you remove some stuff in your mouth. But this is actually just over-marketing. We are just marketing things for the sake of it, just to sound like we are, to be very pompous in our marketing. Okay. But these plastics end up in the ocean, and then we harvest our salt by drying seawater in some ponds, into some open lagoons. What enters into those lagoons are plastics, the microbeads that we are talking about, and these again come back to your house without any form of processing, because we don't process salt. It comes into your house and you're cooking. It may be lucky if you heat it and the particles are going to form a bigger particle, like oil on top of your food. But woe unto you when you use salt to add into food as you're eating, because the microbeads actually get into your stomach. Okay. Some of them may sneak into your bloodstream because they're very minute. Right. And they get into your kidneys.
You can swim their way through.
The kidneys don't know what to do with that kind of stuff. Okay. It was not in the manual. So plastics were not in the manual when you were being.
Surprise, yes.
So you end up actually having problems with your kidneys because of a plastic bottle you threw into the river that ended up in the ocean, that ended up in your salt, and that you took into your system.
But let's just face it. How possible is it to even speak of, scenarios where, let's speak of the energy drinks or soft drink bottles, being produced by using biodegradable, containers in the future? Because it appears as though we really cannot live without plastic.
And like you, because of your age, maybe you never lived a life without plastic.
Yes.
I lived a life without plastic.
Is it so?
I went to Form 1 with a bottle,
then.
a glass bottle of treetop. It was glass.
Yes.
It meant if you just made a small mistake, it will
your treetop is out.
It's broken.
Okay, so
but
you
maybe
have to be very careful.
Discipline. you didn't want to break your own glass
that's true.
of treetop, but you'd keep it out the end of the time.
Yes.
So it's not impossible to live without plastic.
Okay.
Okay.
We just brought this the other day.
The other day, and now it's like we can't do without it. We can do without it.
Okay.
Our forests are full of trees that could be used to make what we call furniture, plastic furniture.
But as you say, maybe back then, the bottles of, the soft drinks and all the drinks were more of, bottles of glass. But you also had sandals, the sandals, the shoes and all that, those were plastics.
Most of them are rubber.
Okay.
Rubber sandals are okay.
Rubber is different from plastic in a huge way.
It's made from
the impact
trees.
is not the same, okay.
Rubber is made from trees.
All right.
And even when we complain about plastics, we don't talk about the tires we use, because they're made of rubber, and rubber is easily broken down and completely disintegrated by nature.
Okay.
You were talking about the need to use plastic. In those days, the only reason why you use a glass bottle today and you dispose it out there is the convenience. Yeah. There's nothing additional that you get by using a plastic bottle. It's just for convenience. Right. But you can still get the same convenience or the luxury of taking a 500 ml of water in a glass bottle. Yeah. Kenya is world's largest exporter of soda ash. And soda ash is the primary raw material in making of glass. Okay. Kenya would be the first to benefit from a complete plastic bottle ban in the world. And so I would wish that our Minister for Trade would come out strongly to get rid of plastics, because Magadi's soda ash will become marketable, and we will be able to supply glass to every country in the world. So to make glass bottles, you require sand from Makueni and soda ash from Kajiado, and heat from the electricity, or it could even be gas, natural gas. Yeah. You are done, and then you can supply every other country in the world with glass. But what have we done? We import. We don't even make those bottles. They come ready, we only blow them up. So we don't actually make money in commercial. It's a loss to us, because when you buy those small tubes that we blow to make bottles, it's actually foreign exchange going out of the country.
Wow. Okay. Well, now that we probably don't seem to get it, even when we're told this is it, day in, day out, it just does not sink. Maybe once again, in our own special space and in this space that we have today, let's just speak of the tragic truths about ocean pollution. Let's talk about, the effects of water pollution, and especially to aquatic life.
Thank you. What nature makes, naturally, it has a solution for. Waste that you make, your body waste, actually becomes neutralized and becomes recycled as nutrients. Yeah. But when we mine petroleum and we make plastics, the plastic has no natural process of breaking it down. And so we have smoothed the ocean floors with the plastics, with those, not the old SADACs, but the new type of plastic that we use for the low fast we are in these days. All of that has gone into the ocean floor, displacing marine life. There are animals or fish that would stay in those areas where that plastic has now gone. Some of the animals actually find that there's a new place I can hide like the hermit crab who normally uses shells to hide. So it finds a small bottle or a cup,
goes inside.
Goes inside, and because it's growing and it is moving around, it fails to actually realize that it's ready to.
It's constrained.
Yeah, constrained.
And then it dies inside.
Inside. So when you think as we are the people, the humans are the people who have actually caused all these problems, you'd actually request that we get a quick ticket out of this planet and get out of it. But now that we are here to stay, we must learn how to live with nature. And one thing is, it does not matter whether it is pleasing to us or it is very economically viable, but we must change our consumption of plastic. Yeah. It must be changed because it's the only way that the future generations, for which Madam Johanna was trying to protect, get something to call their own without us making their life very difficult. Currently, at the trend we are going at about 30 years from now, the ocean will be so polluted that you actually not get enough food from the ocean. So what will happen to our children, our great grandchildren? Let us protect them. Let us be vocal about it. Allow such a conversation to go on. Let us try as much as possible to drum it upon our policymakers to change policies and eliminate plastic as a way of development.
Well, what policies, major main, do we have, and why do you suppose then they're not working such that there's that need to change them?
We have allowed industry leaders to actually shape our policy. If a bread manufacturing company, we'll call it a bakery, is the one to make a decision on whether to use plastic or not,
they will definitely go in favor of themselves.
They will go for the easier option. Yes, it's not impossible. We are not rediscovering the wheel. We know of a company in Kenya that makes bread using wettable paper.
Yes, paper.
And this paper is actually, they have used it for more than the entire period they have been in business. Meaning, if it was not economical, they would be able to.
Why crocodile inaweza tokea juu. Hiyo sijakula hata unataka nikufe kabla ni. I don't like this. I don't. Miss Kai na hipo ikitokelezea ivuruche simu yangu. No, ni sawa. Those who know me will tell you I'm not a lover of large volumes of water.
But for you, we rove the different parts of the country and beyond just to make sure that we bring you the experience. We educate you, we entertain you, and we inform you.
That it's not political and it can do something.
As we sail the boat of Morning Cafe to enlighten you, entertain you, and inform you every Monday to Friday, only on TV 47.
Woo. Construction can be quite a task, but how do you move from finding your piece of land, sourcing the right materials, getting the right labor force to put up your building? Or better yet, how do you source for a building that's already built?
Just a small size of land can suit just a big maisonette because you are going high.
How do you ensure you get the right finishes to bring out the aesthetic value of your property and make it not only look good, but also feel good?
The buyers in this area are the buyers who are able to pay cash.
Well, we have it right here on The Realtor on TV 47, where we demystify a building right here in Kenya and analyze the property industry for you to take advantage when acquiring your next piece of property.
Every February, we hear men joking about going to a men's conference on Valentine's Day. We laugh about it, the lucky ones end up having a decent Valentine's Day, and we move on. But what we do not know is that men actually do meet up. men do sit down and have conversations about things that affect their day-to-day life.
Let me ask, does money make the man?
Give them the gifts, shower them with everything you want to shower them with, but keep your money to yourself.
I, for one, have always been curious as to what goes on in a man's mind, specifically an alpha male's mind.
Adam, yule kwa Biblia anasema ni mtu wa kwanza duniani. Wewe unadhani kama angekuwa hana yale matunda, hana ile garden yake pale ya kukaa, angekuwa tu ni mdomo tu anamfuata Hawa. Oya, mimi ni Adam.
Welcome to the men's conference, where we make men alpha males. My name is Archie, the only female allowed at the conference.
My name is Monica Nyashira Njogona. I am a wife and a mother of 3, and I am a crochet ambassador. This began some years ago when I could not find a white-collar job. I had done a course in IT. I looked for jobs everywhere and I could not find one. So I had a lot of time in my hands, and I had an idea to do crochet.
So we have a WhatsApp group. There are about 3 WhatsApp groups. They are actually full. We've been sharing information, consulting, and just encouraging each other. But surprisingly, the challenges we've been experiencing are similar. So we just try to find a way of managing our challenges. Then all of a sudden there's a challenge coming up, and that is organized by the Hazina Institute.
We realized that many people had lost their jobs. Some businesses were downsizing or closing, and therefore at home. Plus we had the government directives for people to work at home and avoid so much going outside. And we thought this would be a good initiative, not just to keep people busy, but also to deal with their mental health.
The most basic stitch is a chain stitch, where you just yarn over and then pull through that knot. Yarn over, pull through the knot. Yarn over, pull through the knot. So just that.
We were able to work with a consultant who helped us in developing tools to make our work easier. Putting in mind that we could not come together physically. So we had some Google Forms in which people could submit their projects. We had calls. We had to do virtual meetings to make this possible.
Now, part of the challenge required a bit of creativity and something that is innovative, something that is new and different. And my role in this season for them was to just help them open up their minds to see how they can take a simple show, modify it, do something different that adds value, that sets it apart from the market.
This particular hat, I made it within a day. It was one Sunday I woke up and it was done. Then later on, I did the scarf.
During this challenge, we were able to attract around 300 participants. And out of the 300, we were inviting people from other countries. We had people from other 5 countries within Africa. And out of the 300, we had 31 who participated, but 29 submitted their projects.
I didn't expect it. I didn't even imagine that there were 300 participants. I just assumed there are a few who had enrolled, and I said, okay, I'll do my best. I don't know what to expect. All for the love of crochet, but luckily enough, I emerged winner. Crocheting helps you keep away negative thoughts, and things like depression dwell on negative thoughts,
like health problems.
Welcome back to the broadcast. Still coming in, we're being told that Madeira Member of Parliament Rigathi Gachagua has been arrested or was arrested the wee hours of this morning, and therefore we'll be getting details of the same or updates of the same as and when they get to hit our editorial desk. But away from it also, it's important that we continue with this great conversation that we're having this morning. We said it's the first segment or the first session, that is where we talk about the current affairs, and in one of the key things that are of importance to discuss, we discuss how best we can be able to protect aqua life. And of course, if we continue with the careless dance that we've been having of disposing our garbage across improper means, without having to think, then definitely we are evidently saying that the water is not going to be a safe space for aqua animals, for marine animals, and definitely not a safe space for us. Still with me for this conversation is the CEO of course, the CEO, I don't know why I get EcoSave. I find it very hard. EcoSave, I almost said AquaSave, yeah? For EcoSave Africa, Daniel Wanjuki, who's also a lead expert on matters environment, who is weighing in his sentiments as to that. This also triggered by the killing of Joanna Strachberg, over the weekend. That was last week, and in the better part of this week, the conversation has been on. We've seen environmentalists out there, condemning this, and also the international body calling upon President Uhuru Kenyatta, the country at large, to make sure that justice then is found. But what's important is that in as much as we say the danger is here with us, the danger is likely to stay for the longest of time, we do not stop working hard towards, at least maintaining ourselves. We do not stop working hard towards making sure that every other person has the information. Information is power. And then together we'll work towards saving the environment. Back to you. And you speak of this revelation that is quite unfortunate, that, the policymakers, the people who sit at the top of the board of, protecting the environment are the very same people who are in business. Business in the essence of, they are the ones who manufacture these commodities that are not safe for the environment. They're the ones who push for commodities that would not be friendly to the environment. And therefore it becomes hard for us to even imagine we would be successful in this fight.
True. We are likely to be successful going forward.
Okay.
People have now, I believe Wanjiku has said, is becoming more vocal in her dealings, and she's likely to push an agenda through her shopping.
Okay.
We may not depend so much on the policymakers, because the policymakers may have their spirit interest, but it's for you who goes to the supermarket.
Yeah.
When you're buying that item, look at it twice. Ask yourself, is this environmental friendly?
Okay.
We need to now push for those logos on the product that says it's a greener product. That's the conversation from now onwards. We should look for greener products, products that promise sustainability, and products that protect the environment. Now that as much as the policymakers are at it, we are the ones who suffer the consequence of a poorly managed environment. I have also noticed that when we do our policies, we tend not to look at the whole picture. We look at now the current situation, where we don't look at the life cycle of the effect of what we are doing. If you are buying a product that is made with so much plastics, or has to be transported through those extra packaging, probably you could rethink and see whether doing away with it would be better. We take bananas from Giseland, wrapped in the banana wrappings. When we get to the supermarket, we want to put it into polythene.
All right.
I've even seen people require the banana to be peeled and be cut into pieces, and then it packaged in a shrink wrap, so that you can see the beauty of the banana inside. Really, we're becoming lost in the whole game, because do you really need to see the inside of a banana before you buy it?
No.
Would you not really believe that the banana is as sweet, or even better preserved when it is in its own peeling?
Yeah.
So it's our thinking that we need to change, and whoever is driving the conversation should look at changing people's minds and not expecting a big billboard on a policy that is going to stop plastic or encourage people to not go with plastic to the national park. Yet the national park are less than 5% of our national landmass. So you are not achieving much. You may be using so much resources, but not achieving much, because you are leaving people in Kibera to use plastic indiscriminately. It ends up in the Nairobi River or Bagathi River, goes all the way to the ocean, and it causes more trouble.
Wow. Interesting. Let's talk about the earliest days or ideas of environment protection, the ancient ones. And like you rightfully put it, We all assume that it's not possible to stay without plastic, but it is quite possible. If we're going to go back to the policies that were there back then, and I understand that we have made strides as a people, as a global entity, and therefore sometimes, in as much as we want to stick to the ancient ways of doing things, sometimes progress is really, really important. Do you suppose back then we were managing it well in comparison to today?
It's true. The environmental protectionism or activism started way back in 6000 BC. That means that's just before the Garden of Eden was discovered.
Yes.
So it's older than actually contemporary history.
Okay.
So, and in India, we have Jainism. It's a religious creed that tried to protect the environment from excessive damage as far back as that's more than 8,000 years ago.
Okay.
We cannot call today's activism as a new found technology, but that's how long man has noticed that activities he does on Earth are likely to make the world worse off. And so coming to just recently, when a certain lady in US noticed that the local river, a neighborhood river, did not have frogs. And she wrote a book called The Silent Spring. And it's from The Silent Spring, that book, that now people realize that, so things we are doing in the industries could actually kill our river.
Wow.
And because the river had become completely dead. No animals would live there. And so by 1972, when the United Nations Environment Program was initiated, and it was actually started here in Kenya, people had already noticed that environmental protection is a very necessary thing for us if we are to be sustainable in our existence in this world. So the activism we are talking about, or that environmental protection, has come a long way. Even the Bible gives so many examples of how man should live with the environment. And in the first part of it, it says man is given dominion over the world.
Yes.
And if I give you dominion over this studio, really, if something went wrong, you would be the one I would blame.
Right.
So humans have a very big responsibility to protect the environment. It's God-given. It's a commandment. And we don't have a recourse. A president doesn't have to persuade us not to pollute our rivers. Our own children, our own siblings, our parents are the ones using the water downstream. And then when they get cancer, we open WhatsApp groups for contribution. So you may think that it is very removed from you, but when a relative of yours gets sick and goes to hospital, she requires a replacement of the kidney. Why are you replacing a kidney? Yet your grandmother went up to 90 years or even 110 with the only kidney she was born with. Yet you cannot do 50 years with the first kidney you are given. There's something wrong. And the moment we realize that we are killing ourselves, that's when we are going to actually not wait for the government to do it.
We will do it.
By the way, the government doesn't get sick.
That's true.
Doesn't get sick. So it's you who get sick. It's humans who get sick. It's you who is in that office to make policies that will get sick all relatives. And so we should avoid as much as possible polluting the environment. Don't call it activism. When we protect that small part of the river passing through your neighborhood that has vegetation on it, and we call it a swamp. Some people used to call it wetlands. Okay, it's called a wetland. But at one time, our previous government called it a wasteland. And so some of us think that wetlands are wastelands, and so they can be drained, and they get rid of those small animals that interfere with their life at night, the frogs that croak in that wetland. We think it's okay. But the moment you actually do that, you're actually reducing your possibility of you yourself surviving. People of Vendegua, if they get all the rivers drained, you soon have no rivers. Because all the water will be going. Like it happens in some of the dry areas in Kenya, where it rains today, 3 hours of the rain drains in our rivers and it carries vehicles and the cows and in the process. The following day it's dry.
It's extremely dry.
You have to dig down in the sand to get some. So it's what we do those things that nature gave us, we need to protect them at all cost. Yeah.
Well, like you rightfully put it, it is all about us. It's got nothing to do with anybody else. It's got nothing to do with waiting for policies to be formulated, nothing to do with, you know, waiting for the government to make declarations, and sometimes you have to struggle with the government in hiding so that they do not get you with your plastic bags. Just get to that moment where you can embrace this discipline. And you know what? It could save you tomorrow. You never know. Daniel Wanjuki, lead expert, CEO, EcoSave Africa Limited. Asante sana for the great insights. And as we come to a close, in 30 seconds, your parting shots.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to our viewers. I really love them because when we have this conversation, I have almost 3 months of active conversation with them. They engage me outside this studio, and I love that. I also have seen that we are changing. We are getting to a point where we can make decisions on our own. And decide, today I'm not going to do ABCD because ABCD is actually jeopardizing the life of my future children. As EcoSave Africa, we have a very strong belief that we can change the world, and actually you don't require policies to do that, that it is something internal, and that EcoSave Africa will give you the opportunity to make that difference.
Right.
We have come up with systems that actually stop plastic from getting into the rivers, and we encourage our people to use those technologies, where you filter out water through sand and gravel before it goes to the river. Just simple as that. Sand is free, gravel is also free. You could get carbon and get the water out. Instead of taking it back to the river to pollute the river, use it in the farm. When you use it in the farm, it actually ensures that you actually get back the nutrients, and that water goes to the river clean through underground feeding. You get rivers clean, our dams will be clean, and the government should come knocking on our doors.
We should.
Although we are actually being mentored or the incubation by the Ministry of Environment through the Kenya Climate Change Innovation Center, where the government is trying to use the technology and they make it a national activity. That we use those technologies we have to actually make the environment cleaner. That is the biggest offer we would give as a company, and the government of Kenya, which has also taken up. We are partners in this. And so if you may allow me, I could drop my number.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. EcoSave Africa, you can reach us on ecosaveafrica.com. That is the website, ecosaveafrica.com. On Instagram, on Facebook, on any social media aspect. You can also get us on 0721 27 9688. 0721 27 9688. You will get answers to most of those questions you ask.